some of it. Again, like I just mentioned to Felix, maybe 8 years down the road. I mean, maybe when he comes to the end of his second term as governor in the Senate. Ben Carson. Here's one who surprised people. First of all, he surprised people with his wit. You know, when they asked him a question, he said to Megyn Kelly, I was wondering if I was going to get any other questions thrown at me. He said, because he had only said maybe one thing up until that time, you know?
Yep.
At times, it seemed the retired neurosurgeon was the forgotten man on stage. I wasn't sure if I was going to get asked to talk again, he quipped, as I just said. The chaotic proceedings often proved to be a formidable challenge for the soft-spoken Carson. And then after I finish reading this, I have something to say about Carson. The best moment was his closing moment. He boasted that he was the only one to separate Siamese twins. He also said that he was the only person on the stage to operate on a baby while it was still in the mother's womb. He also said that he successfully removed half a brain from a man, and the man lived with very little, brain damage at all, or whatever. But then he quipped and said, however, if you've been to Washington lately, there are a lot of people walking around with half a brain. Exactly. His biggest flop, when asked about race relations, he said he doesn't see the color of skin. It's time for us to move beyond that, he concluded. Now, I have to say, I don't think that was a flop at all, because his response about not talking about race, which was so true, he said, when I operate on somebody and I cut them open, I don't see color. I'm looking at the brain, and it's gray.
The blood.
And the blood.
That's
okay?
Right, yeah.
The brain is gray. And the bottom line is, he said everybody is treated the same on his table. And that's what you want to hear. But I remember when I was a teacher, I did a reading passage with my class, and one of the people we read about, it was little biographical vignettes, was about Ben Carson. Ben Carson was a gangbanger. He grew up, belonged to a gang. I'm not sure if he lived in Philly or Detroit. I don't recall. Dropped out of high school. Picked himself up by the bootstraps. Went back to school. And became probably the world's most renowned neurosurgeon out of Johns Hopkins. He was a pediatric neurosurgeon, amongst other things. Okay? Truly an amazing story. The only complaint I would have about him maybe is the fact that he was very soft-spoken. But then again, he's not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the end, they said that Carson basically was outgunned by the other political experts on the stage. And that's a sad thing. Ted Cruz.
Oh.
The Texas Spitfire.
The man.
Cruz entered the debate with a reputation as a skilled orator, and he was polished and engaging in his presentation. The limited opportunities in the crowded field never really let him hit his stride. His best moment? He made a big splash with his first answer about the recent face-off with the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. If you're looking for someone to go to Washington to go along or to get along, to agree with the career politicians in both parties who get in bed with the lobbyists, Cruz said, I ain't your guy. All right. His biggest flop, in his closing statement, he said that he intended to instruct the Department of Justice and the IRS to start persecuting religious liberty. And let's hope that he misspoke. The final verdict: as a champion debater, he gave a solid but unspectacular performance. And finally, John Kasich, the hero of Ohio. Okay, the Ohio governor said the Cleveland crowd had the Cleveland crowd on his side, but he didn't give them too many opportunities to cheer. A late entry into the field, he's considered pretty much a dark horse, with some potential to rise, but he was one of those candidates who too often got lost in the shuffle last night. His best moment when he said, "I'm an old-fashioned person here, and I happen to believe in traditional marriage." Kasich said in response to the question about gay rights, he went on to say that his faith teaches him to offer unconditional love even to someone who doesn't think the way I do. And the analogy that he made was, he said, if one of his daughters was to come to him and say that she was gay, he said, while I may not agree with the lifestyle, he said, she's my daughter and I love her. And I believe he said that he had gone recently to his first and only gay wedding. One of his staunch supporters and people that he's known for many years decided to get married, and he was proud to be there.
Yeah, he said his friend.
Well,
I don't know if there was support.
I don't know, but yeah. The biggest flop, Kasich's decision, it says here, to expand Medicaid coverage under Obamacare, which he justified by quoting the Bible, has been roundly criticized by conservatives. He was asked to address that right off the bat, which is a tough way to make a first impression. So, right away, the conservatives were getting on his back simply because maybe he was thinking about his constituents in Ohio, over the political party. I mean, by accepting the money that the government was offering. Now, from what I believe, the government is offering this money for a certain number of years. And then after that, the states have to be able to assume the responsibility themselves. But I know that Ohio was hit very hard by the economic depression. Many manufacturing jobs were lost, just like in Pennsylvania and in Detroit. And as a sitting governor, his first priority is to take care of his constituents. So I think he was thinking of his constituents first.
Nothing wrong with that.
What?
Nothing wrong with that.
No. The bottom line on Kasich is that he has the resume to be a president, but he didn't get to make much of a case last night in the debate. So there you have it, a British paper with their rundown on all 10 of the GOP candidates. Now, unfortunately, I didn't see the earlier debate.
You didn't?
The happy hour debate, they called it, at 5 o'clock.
Right.
With the other 7 candidates who did not make it on the stage. So I can't comment about that, nor did I hear anything said about it during the course of the day. So if you heard anything, I'd be certainly happy to listen, to hear.
Well, they say that the only woman in this field was an out-and-out winner in the debate.
Carly Fiorina.
Yeah, they said she was composed, she answered questions well, and she put everybody else to shame, basically.
They said she made one mistake. The mistake that she made was that, the reason she was fired from Hewlett-Packard is the fact that she outsourced many jobs overseas. So, yes, she has experience in running a big company. Okay. I don't know how true it is, but of course some people say that, she lined her own pockets at the expense of the jobs that were sent overseas. I
I can't say. I don't know.
I can't say either. Okay. But I did hear, as you said, that Carly Fiorina, uh, uh, distinguished herself amongst the other 6
Yeah.
candidates.
I'll try to think
So,
who else was impressive. Let's see.
what about Perry?
Perry never impressed me.
Well, I realize that. You know what Donald Trump said? He put on a pair of glasses to look intelligent.
And he does.
I don't know.
Perry was not much of anything.
I think Bobby Jindal is a joke.
No, Jindal's like the second one they thought did okay. Now I will say one thing. It appeared that the people asking the questions, because they had more time, were asking more serious questions, and they were better at. They were. People had more time to answer. The questions, which made it better for them.
Well, with only 7, it's true. With only 7 people up there, I don't know how much time.
They had just a little over an hour.
Okay, so they had half amount of time, and they had 3 less people.
But
So,
for some reason, it seemed like they had more opportunities to answer questions, and I don't know why. The but they were it was okay. It wasn't 2 hours. I must admit, I did fall asleep for the second one after a while. I did get a little bored. But
well, I tell you, I DVR'd it, and I watched it at 1 o'clock in the morning from 1 to 3. And my wife came downstairs and she said, "Why don't you go to sleep already?" Because I started to doze. And she was right. It was putting me to sleep too. So I basically watched it from its inception this morning when I got up.
it was. Listen, Neil, most of it was good. Donald Trump was. How should I put it? He was Donald Trump. He was very.
Well, no, that would be the second.
I know. I'm just
Oh.
thinking.
Well, he still had the most. He spoke for about 10.5 minutes, which is at least
double
close
close
to 4 minutes more than his next opponent. Really.
I'm not sure exactly how he did it, but but you're right. It was something like that.
I would be curious, as I'm sure you would be, to see what his numbers would be after this debate.
Yeah, if
whoever's going to run the next big political poll.
Yeah, I was thinking that his numbers will go down after yesterday.
Well, Frank Luntz, who was a Republican pundit, did a survey. He had a cross section, and he said how many people had a positive view of Donald Trump going into the debate, and I would say almost 75% of them raised their hand. And then he said at the end, afterwards, he said, and after the debate, how many people still had a positive feeling about Donald Trump, and only 3 people raised their hand. So he definitely went down in the eyes of the people that were there. So while he might have been sitting at 19 or 20% approval, he might very well go down.
I think he will. Personally, I think he was too harsh. He had no facts.
You're right. He's very brash, very brazen. He just says what's on his mind. By his own admission, when he said to Megyn Kelly, I don't know how to be politically correct. Okay? And that brashness will cost him support.
Also, he doesn't have facts. There's nothing that he says that's from what I saw, there was of any
I agree.